Hello and welcome to the show. The World Apostolate of Fatima is a public association of the faithful in the Church. We are an international public association of the faithful. Our apostolate here in the United States, as well as those throughout the world, are also with that designation because of our membership in the international organization. But what are the responsibilities and what are the duties, and what does being a public association of the faithful have to do? Today with me is His Excellency Bishop Joseph Perry, who serves as the Episcopal Advisor for the World Apostolate of Fatima USA, a longtime friend of the Apostolate, and someone who I think has shed some light on what are the responsibilities of we as individuals in an apostolate for something like this. Thank you, Your Excellency. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful.
So the Public Association of the Faithful, the designation that we are the Fatima organization recognized by the Vatican. That's good. But could you elaborate a little bit on what a public association actually is and what our obligations are to the Church as such an organization?
Public associations, there's two designations, private association and public association. And that canonical title there gives legal status to operate in the Catholic Church. It's public because it dovetails into what you might call a corporate approval. Mm-hmm. The corporate designation, the legal designation for this entity to operate, it's approved by the Church, and you can operate until such time that you can't operate anymore. It's considered to be perpetual, unless for some reason or another that it's taken away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. We were a private association for some years, recognized, given juridic status in the Church.
Legal status.
Legal status. Mm-hmm. And that went for some years. And in 2005, we were designated as a public association by the Vatican. And that was a 5-year ad experimentum. And then in 2010, we were given permanent status. Sure. But even permanent status is something that could be revoked, obviously, I would believe. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes people don't understand. We hear from people in the Church in different dioceses that there's confusion. There's so many Fatima organizations out there, and good people. I mean, I'd be disingenuous to say they're not good people, but they are. There's not that seal of approval, if you will. Mm-hmm. So we work with our bishops and priests, as you well know, and we operate in churches as well as, obviously in the public square. But how do people really know, I guess it's the approval of the bishops, okay? But as a bishop, how do you view an organization like ours, and how do you view the others who, although being good people, do kind of cross the line sometimes?
This whole notion of association, public or private, came to be really after the Second Vatican Council, when so much emphasis was put on the activity and the ministry of the lay faithful. Mm-hmm. So we needed the Church needed some sort of an organizational format within which people's free will associations coming together to do something that's good and noble for the Church or society could be recognized. That's how it came to be. And then thereafter, we kind of went, people went into some sort of like a situation whereby they looked for more approval from the Church because there were so many different groups coming together, and we didn't know where they were coming from. Free will status, so to speak. Take, for example, a group of association of schools, private schools that are not necessarily Catholic, but a group of people, because of homeschooling, for example, might come together and put something together. That's an association. We probably would call that a private association, more so than a public association. You probably are aware with the Kennedy Directory, that thick book volume that lists every parish, every Catholic hospital, everything that carries the title Catholic in that book, and the IRS uses it to give us some understanding of what is approved or not approved, because there's a lot out there that's done by people that does not have official approval.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's really the case. I know that because we are in the Kennedy Directory and we are part of that, it's not as much a badge of honor, it's an identity.
Sure.
It identifies who we are. And I think that's truly important. For the people in our apostolate on a more local level, okay, they're not corporate people. Okay,
No.
they're people who want to be going out and they want to promote the message of Fatima and the Catholic faith, and sometimes they bump into other organizations, and it creates an issue. What kind of advice could you give people at that local level to be operating in this kind of confusing pool that's out there?
Well, the groups that they're bumping into, are they approved locally by the local bishop, or are they approved by the Holy See? Those are the two places where any approval would come from. See? You can be a private association, you can be a basket weaving association of people making baskets, but it might not mean much unless you get that official approval.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think locally bishops are a little bit reluctant to do it.
Yes.
I think they don't want, I think they imply, in this country at least, it implies liability maybe, okay?
It does.
And so they're a little gun shy, which I can certainly understand in this litigious world that we live in, especially in this country. But, I just, our people really do need to know. So I want you to, maybe give them, not their marching orders, but what they should be looking for and watching out for. And, certainly they should be promoting the fact that we are this approved organization. I think that's very important that they know that. But I think, I say, it's most important that the priests know that if we're going to go into a parish, of course, the bishop in their diocese. That's why when we go with statute visitations, we get approval of the local bishop before we go in.
Exactly.
And then we're not. And unfortunately, others piggyback on us, so we're there, and then they show up. And that happens. And I don't know. I also don't want to be, again, disingenuous. I don't want to, because very good people sometimes do this type of thing.
Sure.
And I think that, and we're sometimes accused of being puppets of the Vatican. Okay, of course, but the conspiracy theorists love this. The ones that Sister Lucia was taken off and she was kidnapped and killed by the Vatican were part of the conspiracy. I mean, you hear all of this garbage, and I don't know. How would you advise people to respond to the outlandish stuff like that? It's easy to say just ignore it, but it's hard to do.
Well, I think they need to show their papers, their documentation. Who's approving them? Yeah. Is it a local bishop? Is it a religious superior? Or is it the Holy See?
Yeah.
And if they can't produce those, then it's very risky to even function.
I would think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we try to, this apostolate was founded in 1947, as you well know, the Blue Army of Our Lady of Fatima. This, the Blue Army of prayer to counter that Red Army of atheistic communism,
Sure.
to be countering those things out there that are evil in the world. And I think that, quite frankly, I think there's been a great degree of success. Of course, the Blue Army Pledge is really the foundation of what it is.
Sure.
But the Blue Army Pledge asks you to do, the things, praying the Rosary, being devoted to the brown scapular, striving to fulfill the first Saturday's devotion, living, of course, chastity according to your state in life. Those are just Catholic things.
They form your structure.
They form your structure.
Yes.
And so we ask people to just, live by that and not to get involved. Don't be drawn in by the more sensational things that are out there.
Yeah.
So if people want to start the conspiracy theories, don't give it traction.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
Make it know that, and you disagree because when people want to say, well, if the Pope had consecrated Russia, or if the Pope had done this, but my response is, what have you done?
Exactly.
Okay, and when a Pope or anybody makes a consecration, the result is only as good as how we live it afterwards.
Sure. Exactly.
And we're, of course, you've got a long history in this apostolate. You as a young man, you said you had Soul magazine. You said when you were young.
As a boy.
A young boy, really? That's great. And so, unfortunately, we don't publish the print version of Soul magazine anymore. But the content is out there.
Sure.
It's out there in our electronic media. our blogs, our podcasts, these kind of things, because that's how people communicate in 2025.
Sure. Exactly.
You know, it's not 1950 anymore. So
No.
75 years ago, it was quite different. And, you know, how would you, I mean, just maybe not to be off subject, but you've seen transition, you know, how have you seen these things transition, I mean, for better or worse? I mean, I know there's obviously, there's always good in advancement, technology and all that, but I think there's certainly a danger in it too. And as a priest, a bishop, you know, what's your take on it? How do you feel? How do people navigate those waters today?
Well, I think you have to be gentlemanly about it. You have to be respectful to other people's initiatives. And I think pastors have to be courageous enough to call out that which seems to be inauthentic, unhealthy, or passing rumors and indications that really have no basis in anything. People are, they're free to talk about whatever they want to talk about, to join up with whatever they want to join up. But we essentially have no authority to call people on a carpet unless they do something that is either illegal or immoral or doctrine-wise skewed. We really don't have much.
But I do think you find that in organizations that are not approved.
Sure.
Because again, it's almost like the whole Protestant, you know, revolution, Reformation. I don't like the word Reformation because it's not accurate. Okay. But
And many of them end up somehow proving their salt by their fruits you will know them. And it's not too difficult to tell who's doing the good thing, who's doing the skewed thing, who's doing the ridiculous thing out there, who seems to be un-Catholic.
Yes.
Not Catholic.
Yeah.
You know.
Because being Catholic is being just universal and open to the truth, open to what's put out there.
And you follow the norms, you follow the rules.
Yes, yes, you do. Yeah. We're a, you know, and of course, you know, how many different Protestant non-Catholic sects are there that have really come to be since the Reformation time? I mean, can you even count them? Okay, because if I start a religion, there's one thing you don't like, you can go take that and then add something different or take something away from that. And, you know, take those books out of the Bible that don't fit. Okay, right? You know, and there's been a tremendous amount of that going on. Well, I look at the same thing within like our Marian Apostolates. Okay, you know, we others say, well, you know, that apostolate, they're too stuck on these things. They don't want to look at the truth. Well, we do look at the truth. We see the whole. We're trying to look at the whole thing, and but it's frustrating because, you know, sensational things sell.
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Anything that the bizarre
sells.
Yes.
It really does. I mean, it's our human nature.
the
We
sensational.
gravitate towards that.
Yes, the hocus pocus.
I was at a conference recently, and I was talking about, and there was different lay organizations, and they were all giving presentations, and one was Food for the Poor, and so they show one of their people sitting on a curbside with a homeless man, and it just melts your heart. Okay, the other one was what was, you know, the organization that works with aspiring religious, helping them retire their debt.
Sure.
Their student debt, and they're so happy, and they got the big smiles on their faces. The other one was a post-abortion counseling organization, and this woman, it just brings you to tears listening to these conversations they're having.
Sure.
Our apostolate asks people to, you know, become holy by praying. Well, that's not flashy. There's nothing flashy about what we do. You know, pray the rosary. Well, gee, that's flashy. Well, it's not. Okay,
It's routine.
You know, it's routine. It's living your daily duty. It's living your life.
Exactly.
You know, carrying your cross as it's given to you and such. And I think that's why sometimes, you know, we don't get the traction. You know, and I think you take that to these other organizations that do go into the more sensational. That's where they get their traction. And talking about, you know, I know the date of the end of the world. Well, I'm glad you do. You know? Tell me what it is, and, you know,
Tell me the day.
I'll put it in my day timer, and we'll figure it from there. You know, but there are people who go that far and talk about there's going to be a miracle on this day. Well, you know, I always say, you know, God doesn't make a schedule, although obviously in Fatima, he gave the children the dates, so he would give the great miracle, but generally speaking, it's not something that comes on conversation. And we have, I think, a very simple membership. People who are devoted, they're truly looking to first sanctify themselves, and then of course their families, but it doesn't stop there if you're not out there working for the salvation of souls.
That's true.
Not to prove them wrong, and that's what others are trying to do in many cases.
There's always the temptation to be self-referential in all of this.
Yes.
But it's all about the Blessed Mother and her message, and those who are serious about following her message in all of its authenticity will not be misusing it or whipping it around and using it for their own aims and ends. What does Mary expect out of this? What is her message?
Yeah.
And again, by their fruits you will know them.
Yes. Absolutely.
If it's something that is scurrilous and people are being misused and taken advantage of, then you know it's not of Mary.
You're right. And that's absolutely, and that is the litmus test.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know, I guess just as, advice to our people to overall, because it's very important that they understand that we're supposed to stand up in defense of the church, but also to be, we can't deny reality. I mean, there are issues going on everywhere, including the church. Let's be honest. But if it's our job to correct those things, we do it through prayer and holiness.
Exactly.
Okay, not through criticism and abandonment, because so many of them do abandon. They really do abandon the faith. And again, that's the key to Protestantism. It's just you don't like it, take your ball and go home and start your own. Your own.
There's enough of that.
We'll get a storefront. And we'll give you a church
And if anyone has any questions or any doubts about some group or what they're saying or doing, they could always consult their local bishop or those in the diocese who have an authority to pronounce on those things.
I think that's really, it's important. It's very important. Because I think we have, and that's what our people do. We get phone calls all the time. How do I deal with this? I had a deacon, he was chancellor of a diocese, contact me. He says, "Could you write something?" Which I put together, and said, "Okay, yes, certainly, we are this. These are just facts of who we are. Now, are we living up to it? Well, that's for others to decide. If the priests and the bishops are satisfied with that."
The purpose of a public association of the faithful is to give some sort of an endorsement that this particular group and its mission, what it's doing, is authentic. It's not heretical.
Right.
It's not doing anything that is outside of the church's authentic faith.
Right.
And so that's the authoritative piece. Because if there was anything questionable about a group or individual or individuals, the church wouldn't give it that kind of endorsement.
No, it wouldn't. Absolutely, they wouldn't.
Other than that, you're free to associate and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But it's going to either stand on its own or fall on its own.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, that's great. It's a little idea for people to understand. I mean, I really want people to be able to maybe watch something like this and understand that there is, we're not asking, and our membership does get very confused, okay?
Sure.
But how do you approach it? I think you're best, as you say, check with your bishops, check with the diocese, and if an organization or others don't, and if they show up at your events, don't be rude, but don't be passive either.
Exactly.
Let them know this is our organization, this is our event, and please don't intermingle it.
Exactly.
Very good. Well, Bishop, thank you so much. I mean, it's we appreciate all of your support and your advice, your direction in the apostolate. You'll be with us, of course, at our National Council, and I'd like you to expound on this a little bit, maybe getting people more understanding of, give them the marching orders, I guess, is the way to look at it, right? We are an army, blue army, so
exactly.
That's never changed. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and please subscribe. Thank you.